Hello friends and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out Nault Nipp. This is a first-person exploration game with a bit of a very surreal, dreamlike quality to it, and I'm actually almost completely not sure what to make of this game with the little bit that I've played. As you can see, we seem to have spawned into a very strange and discordant world where there's some structures that seem to make sense. We've got some mountains, we've got some grass, we've got some sky, and we've got this house here, and even some of the textures make sense, but everything about everything is pretty much a little bit warped and bent, and again, has this sort of dreamlike quality to it. Like, the color of the ground is almost like blood red, and then there's these lavender, I'm not sure, flowers or whatever waving in the wind, but then we walk around this corner and there seems to be some sort of figure here dancing in place. And things just get very unnerving and unsettling and kind of creepy, but I kind of like it. It's in a good way, in my opinion. If you've ever played, like, LSD Dream Emulator, this has a bit of that kind of vibe to it, where everything just, it's a little out of place, and it makes you question why, and what exactly are we doing here, and is there a way out, or do we want to find a way out? And it gives me a little bit of the, like, Alice in Wonderland quality, where everything is just strange. I mean, there's no better way to put it, I suppose, than everything's just a little strange. You're not sure if it's necessarily threatening strange or if it's just off. And, you know, kind of, you start to like worlds like this after a while because they're just so different and unpredictable. And in this case, I feel like everything's got this slowed down tempo to it, and it's partially to do with the way the wind's moving, it's partially to do with the tones that are happening in the background music, and of course the subdued quality of this, I guess, ballerina-like figure jumping in place. There doesn't seem to be gravity governing things the way that you would normally expect, and that figure will walk around until it walks up to you, and then it'll fall down and bounce and fly out of you from a point of center. I don't really understand why, but it's a little bit confusing and bewildering, and I kind of like that too. And then when we back away, well, it just sort of redoubles its efforts and slowly starts making its way towards you again. And again, that rides that line of I'm not really sure if this is threatening or not. I really like these neon colors that are bouncing off of things. And then we've got this one random tree here that seems to have pretty normal coloration, except for going up the trunk. What was that? There's a different tone there than I remember hearing. And this tree that seems kind of like, it almost looks to me like a lot of the texture work is evocative of the concept of, like, a corrupt bunch of texture files. Oh, that is mysterious. What are we even looking at there? I guess it's a mushroom, but it almost looks like there's a face or something going on it. Oh, you know what it reminds me of a little bit is, like, that troll face. The one that's, like, scratched out in MS Paint. I think you know which one I mean. It's, like, the FU one, I think. Anyway. Looking over here at this house, it makes you wonder, can we interact with this in some way? And I am pretty sure that you can interact with certain elements in the game world. However, I don't believe this is one of them, unfortunately. I did see in the page that I downloaded this from, it said something about pressing E to interact, but that does not seem to be possible here. There's also, if you've noticed, as I move around my frame of view, there's a little bit of, like, motion blur on everything. Might wreak havoc with the rendering process, but it does also give you another point in the dreamlike quality checklist, which I guess we're assembling. And you may notice off in the distance there something that looks like a very, very large piano, as well as, I'm not quite sure what that other thing is. Looks just like a big old spike or a beanstalk or something rising up into the air. So we'll probably make our way over in that direction in just a moment. But first I want to admire this tiny house, which I think what we're doing here is we're doing plays on perspective, because that house is much larger than an actual house, this house is much smaller than an actual house, and then we've got some other things that seem to be bent in a strange way, like that figure, or that mushroom, as well as some other figures that we're going to go meet over there in just a moment. Now, when I played this, I spent a couple minutes, and I basically just walked out to about where you see that silhouetted house off in the distance there. But it did not show me everything. What's going on in this window? I thought that was like a bunch of cats sitting in the windows, and I got really excited, but, well, maybe it is actually a bunch of cats in the windows, but they're kind of broken up. Now it's starting to remind me of, like, that pattern that gets produced when you win in solitaire in the Windows game, and then it just leaves that reoccurring solitaire card pattern all over the screen. Really enjoying the music as well. This is definitely putting me in the mood of, you know, being a little bit off kilter So whatever this thing is, there seems to be a lot of these. They wander around. They are kind of nondescript, generic-looking objects. I can't really make out any kind of, you know, figure or shape to them that makes sense to me. The first thing that I thought of when they walked up to me is that it almost looks a little bit like a Jeep or like some kind of military vehicle with a missile launcher attached to the top of it, but then I realized it's kind of bouncing around off of a strange axis that I don't quite understand, like as if the bottom right corner of it or something is where the majority of its weight is being held, and then it sort of rocks back and forth, and occasionally does get bigger as well. Their goal seems to be to stand exactly on top of you and just continue to bounce around back and forth, and sort of makes you wonder what's going on with that. And when you see them doing that off in the distance, definitely a bit unnerving as well. Also could look a little bit like an alien with a huge head or like a pompadour or something, which I guess if we were going for like the Katamari Damacy reference, that would be kind of hilarious. In this case, though, probably more unsettling. The fact that it's also casting a dynamic shadow that seems to be rocking around off of these plants is also a little bit unnerving too, because it's a thing just keeps getting bigger, and I don't understand why, or what I did to get its ire, I suppose. I don't know if it's actually upset with me. It might be. Let's keep walking in this direction. It seems like the ballerina figure has kind of gone off in this direction now. Usually it follows me around. In this case, it seems to be distracted by something else completely. Wondering if there's anything over on the far corners of the world. Like maybe I could go explore those mountains a little bit. Maybe throw a football over them. I don't know. Could be. So there's also this random bit here. There's just like a jean textured panel with some music notes on it. Is that jean? It might also be metal. But my first inkling was that it looked a little bit like denim cut out from a, you know, pants or like a shirt pocket or something, denim shirts, I don't know. Let's look around these houses a little bit more and see if there's, oh, I can't actually walk. There's a big old invisible box wall there that I can't see, hence the invisible part. Why don't I walk around the far away so I can make sure I see anything off in the distance. I could also imagine this is what it would look like if you had a perfectly normal, like, free roam open world game, like a town out of Oblivion or something, and then all of the textures just got completely corrupted and broken. Although I doubt they would do so in such a spectacular fashion as to make everything quite this surreal. They would probably just look a little bit more discordant, like these the archway textures where things just don't really have anything going on at all. But, you know, it could also just randomly end up that way too, and that would be kind of cool. Uh-oh, new sounds happening. You know, they also remind me a little bit of sewing machines, those things that are rocking back and forth. Oh, did the dancer find another dancer? Are we going to meet up? It looks like they're slowly getting closer to each other. This is some sort of very obtuse and surreal performance art at this point, isn't it? I kind of love that. Can you imagine you went to an art gallery and instead of actually looking at anything on the walls, basically there was just like an Oculus Rift headset or something, and you just put that on and just let the events unfold around you for a while. And that would be the performance art. It's digital performance art. They don't actually seem to be getting any closer to each other. They might actually be changing paths, I don't know. They also have this very far away look in their eyes, which is a little bit unsettling as well. And it's not like if you touch them anything really changes, they just sort of fall down, and then they get back up again, because you're never going to keep them down. What else do they remind me? Is maybe a little bit of those, like, the vinyl dolls? Are they the Japanese vinyl dolls? Or urban... I don't even think that's a Japanese thing, is it? But I think there was a contingent of it cropping up in Japanese culture as well. Yeah, there's something about the way that the head is shaped, and the way that the joints are all sort of malleable and sort of clay-like, if that makes sense, or, you know, bulbous. Sort of reminds me a little bit of that. And we've got this one random little alien creature over here. I guess in certain lights, they almost remind me a little bit of, like, the sprite from E.T., as if you, like, extruded a sprite from 2D space from, like, an Atari 2600 game and then gave it a weird animation. That would be a whole thing, wouldn't it? If you just could find a way to create, like, an engine that would render Atari 2600 games in some sort of usable 3D, and then you could, like, walk around in them. That would be pretty wild. I'm not really sure how that would go, but I would kind of think it might end up a little bit like this at times. minus some of the usual Unity tropes, and of course this is a Unity game in case I didn't mention that already, and it is totally free as well if you want to go check this out yourself. There does seem to be a lot of ground to cover, and there's a lot of places I still haven't quite gone to yet. In fact, I've never gone over to this direction yet, and I'm curious to know what's going to be in this house. Looks like a giant clock, and that makes a lot of sense. Well, I don't know, it might. So, passage of time, perspective, surreal, trying to perhaps grab some sort of persistence from actual reality, and then music notes. I feel like there's a puzzle that I haven't quite put together yet. I'm sure you guys will help me figure it out in the comments. Can I interact? Oh, I hit E on this. Alright, that was a little terrifying. What did that do? Oh, it's reversing time. Oh my gosh. Alright, so that's interesting. What am I going to get from reversing time in this scenario? Maybe I should go visit that giant piano? Maybe play some music backward or something? Maybe it'll be like Moonlight Sonata or something from Resident Evil, where we play a, certain tune on the piano and then it unlocks a lockbox or something. Just kind of spitballing ideas here, but... Oh, there we go. We can see what that object is behind the piano. I guess it's a giant thorn, perhaps? I mean, every piano has its thorns, I suppose, but that is a very large one. Kind of want to see what's up over there, but it's a long walk. I feel like you hook a player up with a moped or something, or some kind of Segway maybe would fit in with this world, or a flying carpet, something. Also makes me wonder, because it seems like a lot of the colors are actually just straight up inverted. Looking at the sky, where a normal sun would be expected to be, it's just a dark spot, and then things start to fade to red. Over there, so, I guess that could be... We're in sort of like a parallel dark world existent universe. Also, did you notice the piano, which was once very large, seems to be scaling now to meet my perspective as I get closer to it, and I wonder if it's going to stop. And that is a consistent theme that I've noticed. Yeah, it does stop at some point. That would be weird if, like, as you get closer to it, it would keep shrinking until it just didn't exist at all. So this giant, massive piano off in the distance, but then you can't really... walk up to it. Can't seem to interact with it, though, as far as I can tell, unless I'm just not doing it in the right way. And I know when I walk away from it again, it's just going to get scaled up again. Yeah, I can see inside of it and everything. It looks like it's well textured and everything, too. But I can't really do anything with it. The mystery continues. I feel like there is actually some sort of a narrative that's supposed to go down in this by reading some of the comments that I've seen on the page that I got this from. And I didn't read enough of it to know for sure, but there seems to be little hints. I mean, the fact that we can reverse time seems too vague of a thing, or rather too specific of a thing, not vague, to lead me to believe that this just doesn't go anywhere. But I also don't necessarily know what I need to do to proceed things onward. And in this case, it's a very large landscape, as you can see. Seems like it takes ages to get anywhere, so I won't burden you with having to watch me cross this landscape. I think I'll let you guys go check this out yourselves, see if you can come up with whatever the direction of this game is trying to go, and I'm curious to know myself, and I'm rather compelled and very interested in the works of this developer now, so this is definitely something that I'm going to be on the lookout for. Other games that are in this very similar niche subgenre of first-person exploration, surreal type games, this is like my favorite stuff ever, so whenever I can find one that's got some meat to it like this one seems to, I'm definitely interested to see more. So with that, I guess I will leave you for another day. Make sure you go check this one out. I definitely want to know if you guys have some opinions on it. And let me know if you come up with anything in the comments. As well as if you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like. It helps me out quite a bit. You can also check out a bunch of other stuff about me if you're curious in the description. You can see my Twitter, you can see my Facebook page, and of course the website where all of these episodes are aggregated and sorted, indie-impressions.com. So if you want to visit over there, there's tons more for you to go look at. Many of the other games are actually similar to this, and you can sort them by tags so you can get right to the stuff that you're interested in quickly. But if you want to, come back again tomorrow. New episodes go up every single day, so I hope you'll come visit me again for another bizarre, artistic, original, or unique indie game tomorrow. So I will see you then, and I hope you have a fantastic night. Talk to you later, everybody.